How many? How many? How many? How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
All right, what did I get up to?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of How Many, the only podcast that counts. My name is Fake Jesse Jackson, and joining me today are Bob, Gary, and a very special guest. We brought in a subject matter expert just for this particular topic, Robert Hurt. How are you doing today, Robert?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you for having me on, fellas.
I thought it would be a good topic to go over the great players that have never won an NBA title. So, I have done the research and come up with 50 names of players. Some are in the Hall of Fame, some are not, that have not won a title. So, before we actually get into the list, let's get some guesses out and look at some numbers. Bob, of these 50, how many do you think we're going to count as great players?
I will go 1 over half. I'll say 26 of 50.
Gary?
Give me 20.
Rob?
I'm going to go 15.
15?
Oh, wow.
You're underselling.
I'm underselling.
Normally, I would want to just go 27 and take the over on everybody. But in the spirit of fairness, I am going to go 23.
But you already saw the list.
But you got to keep in mind, I don't know how many you guys are going to count.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which is the X factor in deciding if I'm going to be right or wrong on my guess.
That is the ex-hamster.
All right, so this list is in alphabetical order. So starting from the top, Adrian Dantley, former Piston, former Maverick. I believe he was actually traded, right, for Mark McGuire. Or
McGuire.
Jason
Mark
Mike
Aguirre.
McGuire, Sammy
Yeah.
Souser.
Mike McGuire and Sammy Souser.
Do you think Adrian Dantley is a great player?
This is one of the people I'm talking about that I wouldn't rank as an all-time great. He was a solid player during his NBA career, but I wouldn't rank him, as a Hall of Famer or anything like that, but solid player.
Gary, Bob?
Adrian Dantley had some really, really good seasons. He's a guy that played nearly 1,000 games and averaged over 24 a game. But I remember his game, and I know he was tailing off the end of his career by the time he made it to Dallas. I was not a big fan of Adrian Dantley. I didn't think he was very good when he was in Dallas. I wouldn't put him on this list.
Okay. Bob, would you agree with
Yeah,
that assessment?
he's Hall of very good. He's just short of great.
I would agree with your assessment. I'm going to say no, too. How about Alex English, Denver Nuggets great?
C. Dantley, Adrian.
Yeah, he is in the Adrian Dantley mold. High scoring average, especially on those Nuggets teams that were all fast breaked up.
Now, he did get a movie made about him, Amazing Grace and Chuck.
It began in a small town in America. It began in the heart of a young boy and in the faith of an amazing man.
He gave up what he did best because of this idea, and I don't think he should be alone.
Amazing Grace and Chuck. Maybe one day, this story will be true.
Okay, so we'll say no to Mr. English. How about, I think this will be a no-brainer, Allen Iverson.
With the first pick, the Sixers select Allen Iverson. Iverson, the crossover dribble. Iverson. Oh, no! Iverson stole the ball. And how do you like that? Iverson has Jordan. Allen shakes, break, yes! Oh! Iverson steps over Teron Lue.
Yes.
We're talking about champions.
Yeah. Not practice, championships.
We talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice.
Iverson might be, if we're going through this list here, he's going to be near the top 2 or 3, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's
guys
fantastic.
who've never...
And who else is going to be on that list? Barkley, and where did he play to?
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
Yes.
See what happens when you drafted? See what happens when you get drafted in that dump?
So yes is all around for him, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
How about, this one may have a little bit of debate, Artis Gilmore, former Spur,
Former Bull.
former Bull too.
I love the A-Train, man, but again, Hall of very good.
I'm going to go with Bob on this one. I think he's a good player. You would love to have him on your team as far as big men go, but I wouldn't put
Especially
him...
during that time frame. Mid-'80s
Yeah,
was the
mid-'80s.
heyday of big men. I would agree. I think he's a no. And I hate to do that.
He was
to a
not
former
enough
Spur.
to get the Spurs past the Lakers in the early
Absolutely
80s.
not. All right, next up. How about Arvydas Sabonis, former Portland Trailblazer? His best years were probably overseas, right?
I was fixing to say, I think the unfortunate part about that is that the Sabonis that made it to the NBA, he was so different because he was such an immobile big man, but he could shoot and he could pass really, really well. His best years were easily in Europe.
I think if we had seen Sabonis during his athletic prime, he would be very similar to Jokic right now. But the version that we got in the NBA, no. How about Bernard King, former Knick?
You know, if his career was longer,
I was just about to say, this is kind of the Gale Sayers.
Yeah, injuries kind of did him in. Lots of knee surgeries, but he was a great player in his prime.
What an amazing scorer. He was fun to watch.
Yeah, dude, because those Knicks teams he played on were pretty bad. He made them like playoff quality teams by himself.
So are we saying yes, no?
No.
He's on the fringe for me, but I'd have to say no.
I have to say no, just the body of work isn't there. It's hard for me to get past the guys that have the really short careers and put them in the lineup with somebody that had a 15-year career.
That one's a little surprising. I think I would have said yes on that one, but it sounds like the consensus is no.
Yeah, it's close, but no.
How about Bob Lanier, former Piston?
He's kind of in the Artist Gilmore
Yeah,
category.
I kind of feel he's a Gilmore type too, except his heyday was more 70s.
Yeah.
Now, he did get notoriety for being in the movie Airplane because Kareem said he had to drag him and Walton up the court.
Tell your old man to drag Walton and Lanier up and down the court for 48 minutes.
I would say no on that.
That's a guy that played almost 1,000 games in his career and averaged 20 and 10.
Yeah, he was very good.
Pretty good.
He probably would be more highly thought of if he had played in a bigger market.
All right, so are we thinking no?
Yeah, I still say no, but really good.
How about Bob Love, former Bull?
No, but he was in the opening credits of The White Shadow.
Are we no's all around for Bob Love? He's not a Hall of Famer. He's a Bulls great, but he's not an NBA great.
Bob Love is not even as good as Buddy Love.
Is that a test tube in my pocket? Or am I just happy to see you?
How dare you!
Oh, you know you love it. I felt you percolate.
All right, I think this one's going to be a top 5. Charles Barkley. I think that's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, that is a no-brainer.
When he first came to Philadelphia, he was a little overweight. That was during his round mound of rebound days. But for a guy who was carrying a little extra weight, he can get off his feet really fast.
How can you see a 6'4" guy do what he do? Rebound, block shot, score, and strong.
If the ball was in the middle of 5 guys, everybody knew who would always come up with that ball. It was Charles Barkley. And not only grab it, but explode up.
Probably number 1 on the list.
All right, so we'll say yes to Barkley. Another Charles. How about Charles Oakley?
No.
Former Knick.
Tough guy, badass.
Yes.
Tough guy, great rebounder.
You want him on your team. He's not your primary star as a big. He may be your most important big, but he's not a star.
No, he's not going to be, I'm going to say a no, but again, just one of my favorite players of all time for me personally.
Yeah, you definitely want a guy like him on your team.
Oh, yeah.
Especially during a playoff run. Yeah. How about Chris Mullin, former Golden State Warrior?
I'm gonna say yes.
Those Run TMC years, he was really good.
Yeah, he really was. But I think this is back to the Adrian Dantley thing. Yeah. He's a really good player.
When he played on the Pacers, that was probably his best chance. I'll say yes because he was on the Dream Team.
All right, so Rob, you're a yes.
I'm a yes. To me, he's a tick above Dantley and Alex English level.
I'm a no just because the Run TMC stuff, that was, we're so bad at defense, we're going to go bananas on offense. It's ahead of its time. It's the same thing that Nelly did when he was with Dallas, running up the score and trying to just outscore people. And to me, he's not a tick above the Adrian Dantley or Alex Englishes of the world. He's just like them.
You know,
he was definitely not a two-way player.
I was going to say, I kind of agree with you. He was kind of a one-dimensional player. He could shoot. He had some ability to drive, but not really. He wasn't very athletic, and he definitely didn't play defense. I'm going to say no.
I'm okay with putting him on no, because, I mean, you guys are right. He was pretty one-dimensional.
How about Chris Webber, former Sacramento King? Played with a bunch of other teams, but the Kings were probably his best chance to win a title. I'm on the fence on him. He had some really good years.
He was a little bit ahead of his time in that he was a point forward, really good passer, good shooter, good rebounder. Boy, I don't know. That's tough. I have to lean to no on that.
Okay.
Going back to Michigan and the timeout situation,
Weber brings it into the front court. They have no timeouts remaining.
Oh, he causes too many timeouts. That's a technical foul.
He called a timeout. Michigan doesn't have any.
A huge mental mistake.
He's always just kind of seemed like he's not, like he's a loser. Like he just doesn't team.
Can never get over the hump.
Can never get over the hump.
Kind of a mental midget.
The Kings.
Rob just straight up called him a loser. And then Bob doubled down with mental midget.
His athletic ability kind of overcame a lot of...
Like a low basketball.
Yeah.
All right, so Rob, you're no. Bob, you're
I'm a
no.
no.
All right, so it's no's all the way around for him. How about Connie Hawkins, former son? He is in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, his best years were before he was even in the NBA.
That's ABA stuff, right?
ABA.
I think he was on the Globetrotters, too, for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he was a great player, but it was kind of like a Sabonis thing where the NBA, you did not see his best years. That was like at the end of his career.
So would you say no then, Bob?
If you're factoring in just his NBA years, probably no. But overall, I would say maybe yes.
Rob?
This is, again, a tough one for me, and I'm kind of with Bob. His better years were before the NBA. If we're just going off of that, I will say no.
I mean, he's highly influential, like Dr. J. A lot of these guys tailor their game after him.
I'm looking at his career. The first couple of years were ABA. In those years, he averaged 26 and 13 and 30 and 11. But in the NBA, those numbers start dropping immediately and they never recover. I think if he had a full career at the NBA level, those numbers drop even further. I'd say no.
Yeah, you know what? I agree. I'm going to go no as well. What about Dale Ellis, former Sonic? He held
Former Maverick.
Former Maverick, too.
Dude, you have to know where you're at.
He did.
Spurs.
He also, hey, he was a former Spur, too.
He was. That's right. Yeah. 3-point specialist.
Yeah, he held the most three-pointers made record for a while before I believe Reggie Miller broke it. I'm a no, though, because he's kind of in the Chris Mullin.
Yeah, he was very
realm.
one-dimensional.
What do you guys think?
I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I'm a no on that. A lot of these guys that held a lot of those records, there were years where he shot 41% from three, but these were in games where they were shooting 2 threes a game. That's just not that impressive.
All right, I'm good with a no as well. How about David Thompson, former Nugget?
Yes.
The whole term and the whole measuring of vertical leap began, I think, with David Thompson. He vaulted off the ground 44 inches was a lot. It still is a lot. You can tell when he was there on above you, he surprised you.
The legend was I could take a quarter off and leave 2 dimes and a nickel. I didn't quite have that much hang time, but I could get the top of the backboards.
One of the greatest slam dunkers of all time. He kind of is in the Gale Sayers mold as well because he blew out his knees and that killed any of his athleticism, but he was great before then. Yeah. He's a Hall of Famer too.
He was an incredible scorer.
Yes.
And he had that legendary final day battle with Gervin for the scoring title. He had a short run, but when he played, he was top 5 player in the league every year he played. Yeah, I would count him for sure.
You're a yes. Rob?
I'm a yes on this one. Again, a Skywalker, an incredible scorer. He was the genesis for the high flyers.
All right, Gary?
This is the kind of guy that I think draws the line. So I will say yes on him, but I would tell you that for me, it's barely a yes. It's 10 years in the league, from 75 to 84. Like you said, the injuries kind of robbed him later, but he spent a significant portion of his career, 6 years, 26 a game, 27 a game. That's a guy that really, really scored the ball well.
Okay, I would have been a yes for this one as well. How about Detlef Schrempf, another former Maverick? His best years were probably with the Pacers, though. He won 6th Man of the Year a couple of times.
Yeah, it's a no.
Not a Hall of Famer, though.
No, but he was really good. Nah. One of the first really good Euros.
Foreign
yeah.
players. How about Dikembe Mutombo?
Number 55! Dikembe Mutombo! Dikembe said that is my home! Oh, no.
The Defensive Player of the Year award.
Second all-time shot blocker in NBA history!
To me, he's probably a little above Lanier, Artis Gilmore level. Man, this is tough. This is kind of like Gary drawing the line.
I say yes. This one's actually much easier for me. You're talking about during the extended run, he was the best defensive player in the NBA.
Won multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards.
And I think that weighs really heavily. On top of the fact that he was a monster rebounder, he changed games without even having to score a lot to do it, especially in a game that at the time was dominated by bigs. He belongs.
Yeah.
All right, so Bobby, you're a yes.
Yeah.
Rob?
Yeah, he was a defensive anchor for a lot of playoff teams, so I'll say yes.
I would agree. I would have counted him as well. How about Dominique Wilkins?
Dominique is just like his nickname, the human highlight film. It is truly that.
I mean, when he went up to dunk the ball, I never seen so much power.
The guy could really jump, and not only just jump, he really had a game.
He put Atlanta on the map. You know, the Hawks are Dominique Wilkins.
Yeah.
The human highlight reel.
Human highlight reel.
Yeah, he's like the David Thompson.
Except he didn't get injured. He, for the most part, up until the end of his career, he had pretty decent health. And guy that scored a lot of points, I would say yes on him.
Yeah, I would say yes.
Yes is all the way around.
I would say yes.
Now, here's another guy that his career was cut short, not because of injuries, but because he died. Drazen Petrovic.
But there's one guy that tops me, and it was the late, great Drazen Petrovic. Drazen Petrovic was my nemesis. I could not stand this guy, but to this day, I respect him because I think he is the best shooter I've ever seen in my life. Better than Ray Allen. The best shooter I've ever seen in my life.
He is a Hall of Famer, but he was never on any teams that really competed for
Was he
a
the
title.
Nets that he played for?
Yeah, and he was with the Blazers.
But when he died, he was starting to peak. Like, he probably had at least another 5 really good years left that got cut off because he died.
I would say no on him, but it's only because he didn't get to see the rest of that career.
Yeah, I would agree.
Do you guys agree with that?
Yes. This is, to me, much more like Gale Sayers than some of the other guys who have had shorter careers. The same way that I would put in Gale Sayers, I would almost put in Petrovic. That guy was absolutely a game changer.
And he probably did as much as almost any other player to really opening the door for the Euro.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, unfortunately, because of his career being cut short, I would say no.
All right, the next one is one that a lot of lists have as number one, Elgin Baylor.
Elgin was the first one that would, go up for the jump shot and hang up there for 15 seconds, have some lunch and a cup of coffee, and, the defenders would all be back on the ground, and he'd finally decide to shoot the thing.
Elgin Baylor was Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan. Baylor would just blow your socks off. You never seen anything like that before.
Former Laker. I think in the 70s, he got really, really close, and then he got injured. But he's obviously a Hall of Famer as well. I think this one's a no-brainer.
This is a no-brainer for me. Yeah.
Yep.
It's kind of hard to believe he didn't win one because as often as the Lakers were there.
Now, this one, I think me and Bob are going to rubber stamp. You guys may disagree. George Gervin.
The Iceman. All the way in.
The Iceman.
Iceman.
We all, go to the locker room and, everybody's jersey all sweaty and wet, and my practice gear was almost bone dry. So, Fatty Taylor say, man, will you look at this guy here, man? He said, man, this guy like ice. And that's exactly how it started, and Fatty say, you the ice man now. And that's how I got my nickname. I used to finger roll from the free throw line. That's a finger roll. I used to finger roll from over the backboard. That's a finger roll. The finger roll is something special,
Now, he is a former Bull, too.
That was the Artis Gilmore trade.
That was at the end of his career. I'll go ahead and say yes. I'll say
tentative yes.
I'll say
reluctant yes.
We're all putting him in, so I'll just say screw him.
Now, he was not a defensive player at all. All offense, only offense. But how many scoring titles? 4 or 5. He was dominant on the offensive end.
Yeah, I'm going to say yes, too. How about George McGinnis, former Pacer? He's
may close, but no, he's kind of the Alex English.
He's like the 70s version of Adrian Dantley and Alex English.
Yeah.
Now, those Pacers teams that won all those ABA titles, he was their main guy.
All right, so we'll say no to Mr. McGinnis. Now, this one I think is kind of interesting. How about Grant Hill?
When I saw him play the first time, I said, this kid is exquisite. He doesn't even run, he flows.
The way he was exciting people, he had the total package.
He was perfectly fundamentally sound. Perfect dribble, perfect pass, the way he played, and I became a fan instantly.
What he's accomplished as a basketball player on and off the floor, I couldn't pick a better person to be in the same class with.
A lot of different teams, Pistons, Suns, Magic. Obviously, when he was with Orlando, that's when he had all those really horrible ankle injuries and never really recovered from that. But man, when he was with Detroit, he was Jordan Light. Really, really great player. I'm going to say yes on this one. He is also a Hall of Famer.
Son of a cowboy.
That's a yes for me. He's one of those guys that had his career not been shortened and hampered by the ankle injury, he would have been definitely top 10, maybe a top 5 player of all time.
I could see top 10. I don't know about top 5. But
You said yourself he was Jordan Light. We never saw as good as he was going to be.
Even when he was on Detroit, he was close to a triple-double guy.
He was a triple-double machine back when that didn't happen nearly as much as it happens today. And the defenses were so much more physical back then. I'm a big Grant.
I would be a yes too. Rob, are you a yes?
I'm a yes.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that really puts it in question is his health and the injuries. But yeah, I would say yes.
All right, so we will count Mr. Hill. How about Jeff Hornacek, former Sun? He's a Chris Mullin.
I was thinking he's more of an American version of Detlef
Yeah.
Schrempf. He was kind of just the gunner, but he was always like the third wheel. Like he was never the main guy on any of his teams.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Is he a no all around?
He's a no for me.
Gary?
No.
This next one is interesting. How about Jerry Stackhouse, former Piston, former Mav? He was the guy that flagrant fouled Shaq.
He's also the guy that would catch you in the tunnel after the game and beat the shit out of you. For real. Like, there are a lot of fake tough guys in the NBA. If Jerry Stackhouse wanted to beat the shit out of you, nobody was going to stop him. And if he couldn't get to you on the court, he would catch up to you on a team plane. If he wanted to beat the shit out of you, you were getting the beat out of you.
So is that enough to get him in? Is anybody a yes on him?
I'm going to say no because he never really seemed to me like he was a primary.
He was primary in Philly, but he's basically everybody that got drafted in the Philly had to just be a good player that was never going to win because Philadelphia sucks and it drains the life out of all of its athletes, and that's why they all suck.
I want to say there was a year he actually won the scoring title too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah, I'm a big Jerry Stackhouse fan. Stackhouse could have helped the Mavs in the bubble this year because he would have knocked the shit out of Marcus.
So are you a yes then?
Yeah, I like Stack, yes.
Bob?
Close, but no.
Yeah, I would say no too.
I think no, but very good player.
All right, these next two, it's kind of fitting that they are side by side alphabetically next to each other. Stockton and Malone.
John Stockton, the pure point guard, the great decision maker, the artist, the finesse. On the other hand, Karl Malone is the rough, tough, hard-hitting super athlete. Great body, great hands, and a great will to win.
Stockton in a hurry. Playing the fast break to perfection.
Those two guys, Stockton and Malone, they've connected. It's nothing better than that when you can step on the floor and you don't have to say a word to a guy.
I think they're probably top 5 guys.
Both of them.
Yeah, I hate them too.
Like, not even just like, oh, they didn't play for my team. Like, they both can die in a
Now,
fight.
I do have more respect for Stockton than I do Malone because Stockton actually stuck it out with the same team throughout.
Yeah.
He didn't jump ship with like Malone did when he went to the Lakers.
Yeah, they're both extremely dirty players. Not just physical players, dirty players. Malone's a pedo.
And a deadbeat.
Right.
Is that enough to say no to both of them?
Oh, I'll say no because both of you have said yes, and I don't like it.
Ronnie, you guys can say no. Rob, are you a yes?
I'm a yes. At their positions, top 5 for sure.
So, Rob, you're a yes. Bob, you're a reluctant yes. I still do not forgive Karl Malone for elbowing David Robinson.
It appeared as though he tangled with Karl Malone right there as Karl swung the elbow and hit him in the back of the head. David went out immediately.
He dislocated Dirk's shoulder.
He was a dirty player, like Gary said. Well, both of them were.
The next one is interesting. How about KJ, Kevin Johnson, former...
Oh, another real-life a-hole.
He's one of those guys, man, for a brief period, he was absolutely on fire.
Yeah, he was the best point guard in the league for about a 5-year stretch.
No, I wouldn't say 5.
I don't know if I'd say 5.
Maybe
yeah,
3 years.
I was thinking 3 when you said that, but
yeah.
He was such a blur. Nobody could stay in front of him. And those Phoenix teams really opened things up.
So I would be a tentative yes.
Too short of a peak. I would say no. And
So, Bob, you're
mainly
no?
because I don't like him.
I'm probably a no as well.
I'm a no. Like you said, 3-year span where he was probably the best point guard. He was just a blur, but I'm going to say no.
So we'll say no to KJ. Another Johnson. How about Grandmama Larry Johnson?
I told y'all, stay out of the lane when Granny's driving.
Dallas' own.
Skyline's own.
Former Hornet and former Knick. At the beginning of his career is probably his best years. Like, he became more of a three-point shooter, power forward type towards the end when he was with New York. But I'm kind of a no on him.
Yeah, he was a beast in college, and the first couple years in the league, he was really good, but went downhill super quick. No.
Yeah, 6'7" power forwards just don't last very long. Barkley's sort of an anomaly.
The commercials were a funny bit, though.
I'm going to say no. I like Charles Oakley over him, and I didn't put Charles Oakley in, so I'm going to say no on Larry Johnson.
How about Sweet Lou Hudson, former Hawk. He is not a Hall of Famer. He was kind of in an era that we didn't really watch basketball, so no's all around.
I'm going to say no, but yeah, I haven't watched a lot of his career.
Now here's a guy that we did see. How about Manute Bol? Former Warrior. Was on a couple of different teams. Was actually a three-point shooter too. He's kind of a worse version of Mutombo.
Yeah, he's a
taller.
He's a way worse version.
Yeah, kind of a bit.
Yeah,
right?
he's actually a worse version of Bradley.
Actually, I think Bol is
better than his
a
dad.
better player than his dad.
Maybe. We'll see.
We'll see how it goes.
All right, so we'll say no to Manute. How about former Cleveland Cavalier Mark Price?
Kind of in the Hornacek category, but a little bit better.
He was better than Hornacek.
He was better.
He was a
yeah.
multiple-time All-Star.
Kind of a poor man Stockton. I mean, he's a really, really good player, but not quite great.
So you're a no.
His big thing was the free throws. He held the record for a long time for free throw percentage.
Yeah, consistently was the best in the league at free throw percentage. So, Rob, are you
I'm going to say no, but just on a personal note from those late 80s Bulls teams and early 90s, he was a menace, man. That guy, if you left him open, he was going to drain it every time.
So you're a no on him also?
Yeah, it's a no.
All right, how about Nate Thurmond, former Golden State Warrior? He is a Hall of Famer.
I'm going to say no.
Yeah, I'm going to say no too. I don't really recall him having really big playoff runs either.
Yeah.
How about, and I think this one's probably a top 5, Patrick Ewing.
You know, a lot of people, when they talk about the greats,
There you
Patrick
go.
Ewing name never comes up, but he was a great competitor. Even though he never
Even
won a championship.
at the time when you scream, "This is my house, get out."
Of course. Hey, listen, I watch a lot of karate movies, and in every karate movie, the student always had to kill the teacher to become the best. But Pat was a great player, great competitor, did a lot, and, you know, I'm putting him as one of the top 5 centers.
Obviously a Hall of Famer. Got close a couple of times, ran into the Bulls, and then when they played the Rockets, took them to a Game 7. Got really close, but not quite. John Starks probably screwed him out of a title.
Yeah.
Yes is all around for him, right? This one I would count. Penny Hardaway.
They said there'd never be another Elgin Baylor. Then I came along. They said there'd never be another Dr. J. Then you came along. Who have you been sizing up for the torch passing?
If I look at the players today, and Hardaway is a great pick because of versatility and the things that he can do with the ball, without the ball, defensively, you know, to make his surrounding players better.
Former Orlando Magic. Now, he is another guy that started off really, really well. Then he had some injuries, and that kind of robbed him of his athleticism. By the time he got to Phoenix, I think his knees were kind of shot. But his Orlando run was great.
Yes.
I'm a huge Penny Hardaway fan. Another set of really funny commercials.
Yeah, Little Penny.
Little Penny.
Whoa! Penny, stop the car! That was Tyra Banks, fool!
But I remember the first time I knew anything about him was when he played on the college team that beat the Dream Team. And he was the leader. They put together a team to play against the Dream Team to get them ready for the Olympics. And they actually beat them, and it was Penny Hardaway was why. I mean, he was a monster early on. If he and Shaq had stayed together in Orlando and healthy, they probably would have put together some titles and he wouldn't be on this list.
I'm also a big Penny Hardaway fan. I'm going to lean towards yes on this one. He made it to the finals with Shaq.
Now, they did get swept in that finals.
They did. They were making playoff runs early in his career, and he was obviously a big part of that. So.
Plus, I do also give him credit because he was on a team that actually beat Jordan when Jordan was not already past his prime. I give him credit for that. I would be a yes, too. And Bob, you're a yes?
I'm right on the
you're
fence.
Outvoted anyway, doesn't
I'm outvoted. I was going to lean no just because of the shortness of his...
He didn't have a short career, really. He played from 93 to 06.
Yeah. It's just that his injuries kind of robbed him.
Yeah, I was going to say his peak era.
Very Grant Hill-like.
Yeah.
Like Grant Hill had a really long career, too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with being yes.
Isn't this also kind of like the heyday of the NBA, that mid-90s?
Mid-90s.
There were so many wings and guards that were very talented. I say yes.
How about Pistol Pete Maravich?
You're looking at Pistol Pete Maravich, in my opinion, the greatest playmaker playing today.
Boy, could he play basketball and could he entertain you. You know, the no-look passes, the dribble the ball and then pat it with one hand. That's where I saw that from Pistol Pete, and that's where I got it from.
Former Utah Jazz player.
Yes. The best backcourt white guy of his era after Jerry West.
That very niche category.
Seriously, that guy He was electric.
Did he slide?
He could do literally anything on the offensive end. He was a point machine. Just could score at will. Yeah, definitely.
And he beat Gervin in the game, of course.
And so, NBA scoring champion George Gervin of San Antonio goes out, and Pistol Pete Maravich is a semifinalist in the horse competition.
Yeah, I'm a yes too. Rob, are you a yes?
I'm a yes.
Hall of Famer too.
He was, I mean, the guy's handles were just unbelievable. His passing, maybe Magic might be better than him, but it's just unbelievable.
One of the first showmen.
That's the very first showman.
Probably a top 5 nickname too.
Yes.
Pistol Pete.
Pistol Pete, top
Pistol
5.
Pete.
Made those basketball drill videos back in the day. Yeah, he's definitely in.
And he was always on really, really bad teams, man. For him to do what he did, it was still pretty impressive.
How about another guy that had his prime probably robbed due to injuries? Ralph Sampson, former Houston Rocket.
I always felt like Sampson rode Akeem's coattails a little bit.
During the Twin Towers.
Yeah. He had just the tip against the Lakers.
Yeah, McRae will inbound. 1 second on the clock. Sampson. It goes. It's over. A miraculous shot by Ralph Sampson.
I was going to say, they did make it to the finals, and they did get through the Lakers to do it, but then they got beat pretty badly.
He's kind of the prime example of a guy who was much better in college.
I was just going to say, I think a lot of what people remember about Ralph Sampson was him at Virginia. You know, when you're that tall and you play on with some other bigs like the Twin Tower thing, he played 8 years in the NBA basically, 4 of them with Houston, then bounced around on a couple of one-year deals and was out.
That trade to the Golden State Warriors was a big blockbuster. I remember that was a huge, big blow the lid off trade.
But by then, his knee injuries had pretty much robbed him.
robbed him of anything.
I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm going to say no on this. I mean, just like in the Bob Lanier, Artis Gilmore. Yeah, no for me.
Okay, I'm good with a no as well. Now, this one I think is a top 10 guy. Reggie Miller, we talked about him a little while ago.
You can't be a great player unless you have supreme confidence. That's the thing that separates good players from great players. And Reggie Miller just has supreme confidence.
He's a guy that always wanted the ball in the last few seconds of a game. And if he got it, he usually knew what to do with it.
Reggie Miller was one of the greatest scorers that we've ever seen in NBA history. Then he was one of the greatest shooters I've ever seen.
Great shooter, great player. Another guy that stuck it out with the same team throughout his career. Good or bad, didn't team hop to try and win a championship.
He's one of the all-time competitors, gritty competitors. Like
Great
you think a
trash
guy,
talker.
just like
and even when it bit him in the ass.
Yeah, but I mean that guy never took a night off, dude. He was always nonstop effort.
Okay, so you're a yes, Bob?
Yeah.
Rob?
Yeah,
I'm a yes too. Gary's a yes. All right, so we'll say yes to Reggie. How about, this one's interesting because he started off great, probably for his first maybe 6 years or so. Shawn Kemp.
Kind of in the Larry Johnson mode a little bit. Longer impact.
He's
but
bigger too. Like he's a legit 6'10" guy.
Yeah, he didn't have as long of a success.
Man, those dunk highlight reels, those were some of the greatest dunks I had ever seen.
yeah.
In-game dunks.
Up to Gary Payton. Lead pass to Kemp. He'll play it down. What a lob! Whoa! Gary Payton with a lob ahead to Kemp. He went airborne, defying gravity. Kemp's got it right up into the alley. Power slam! Tomahawk Sam! Yeah, baby! Into Lister's face. Woo! The Rain Man!
His run with Gary Payton was spectacular, and then they made it to the finals. They ran into the Bulls, gave them a decent fight, but maybe not enough of a career. By the time he got to Portland, he was out of shape. All of his athleticism was gone.
I think he still might be the all-time leader in fun babies, though.
7 kids and 6 women.
I'm going to say no. Are you a no, Rob?
I'm actually a yes
You're
on
a
this
yes?
one. To make it to the finals in those 90s, I mean, that's the prime of basketball, the NBA. Like we all talked about, just the amazing in-game highlight dunks. I'm going to say yes.
Gary?
Nope. Basically, to me, he's Blake Griffin, and he's a lot of fun to watch, but you won't catch him leading a team, and you won't catch him wearing a ring. Not even from his 6 baby mamas.
How about Sidney Moncrief, former Milwaukee Buck?
Very good. There is a good group of those guys that were just really
You
solid.
have to wonder how much of our opinion is colored by the very topic that we're talking about. Like, how many of these guys that we've said no to would we say yes to if they did have a ring or two? But I agree. To me, he's a no.
Yeah, I would be a no too. Rob, are you a no?
He's a no, solid defender, guard, but yeah, no for me.
Now, the next two, again, it's funny that they are alphabetically right next to each other because I thought their games were very similar. Stephon Marbury, Starbury, and Stevie Franchise.
Yeah, those guys
those
are
two
pretty
are
interchangeable.
They're even similar in that they went overseas and dominated over there for a while.
Yeah, I would be nose on both of these, but they had a little run where they were really, really good, but not good enough to get over the hump.
I'm a no, but shout out to Starbury for his affordable shoes.
Yeah,
I'm going to say no on this one as well. Both guys are very flashy, but just were not game in, game out dependable.
Now this one, I think we may get the most debate on. Former Maverick, former Sun, former MVP, multiple-time MVP, Hall of Famer, Steve Nash.
It all started with him trying to prove himself, trying to make it, trying to get better every year.
Incredible play by Steve Nash.
His court vision was next to no other.
I just don't think anybody really knew what he was capable of by having the ball and literally orchestrating the entire offense. I think you'll be hard-pressed to find another player of that caliber. He's one of the best point guards we've ever had.
Not sure what the debate is. I mean, I think he's a definite yes.
I mean, he'd be a yes to me too.
He's a definite yes for me.
I would not think he was borderline. I would definitely put him in.
Gary?
Yeah, he's a yes.
You look like you may have had a
No,
opinion.
I will say this. It seems like everybody in this room except me thinks that it's absolutely cut and dried, and I don't think it's cut and dried. I would say yes, but it wouldn't have surprised me had we debated it.
So we'll definitely count him. How about former Spur, former Milwaukee Buck, Terry Cummings?
No.
Multiple All-Star appearances. But
He's an all-star role player.
Yeah.
Honestly, he's not even on Adrian Dantley level.
No.
Now, this one is interesting because at the beginning of his career, he was great, flashy on those Run TMC teams. Then he went to Miami and became more of a defensive guy, I think. Tim Hardaway.
Tim Hardaway, the killer crossover.
That's as good as it gets, Steve. That's as good as it gets.
Hardaway, Bing Stockton. Speaking of breaking loose, Tim Hardaway into the clear with the killer crossover.
You want a quick fun fact that'll take about 2 seconds?
His son plays for the Mavericks.
His son plays for the Mavericks, and he and I were born on the exact same day, same year and everything.
Probably in much better shape than you, though.
Oh, he always has been.
Now, known for the killer crossover. I'm leaning towards yes on him. Multiple All-Star appearances, was really, really good. And when he was on Miami, they had some pretty deep playoff runs.
I could say yes, but I could also see why people would not want to put him in.
Is that a yes or is that a no?
I will say no, but
I'm right on the fence. I think I'm going to say no. He's one of the tougher ones that we've come across as far
See,
as...
now, you guys do this, and I'll tell you that other than the fact that Steve Nash went to Phoenix when they were playing that D'Antoni system that really pumps up numbers, and he won a couple of MVPs, these are two really similar guys. They're both fantastic basketball players. And both of you guys went no-brainer yes on Steve Nash, and then you ride the fence and go no on Hardaway. This is what I thought we were going to do on Nash.
I will admit, if Hardaway had the 2 MVPs and Steve Nash didn't, I would flip it and no Steve Nash. And
yeah, I think the 2 MVPs and the fact that Nash is in the Hall of Fame and Hardaway isn't.
Yeah, I would question that exact same thing, though. If Hardaway had gone to play for somebody like D'Antoni, which he basically did in Golden State, if he had played for somebody like him and won a couple of MVPs and Nash hadn't, then there's probably also a really good chance that he's in the Hall of Fame and Nash isn't. Those 2 years in Nash's career are probably the defining difference between these two players.
So you think all things being equal, Hardaway may have been a slightly better player?
I think they're just really similar. I think that Hardaway's a more durable player. Had Cuban not allowed Nash to leave, we wouldn't see Steve Nash the way that we see him today, because I think when Nash left here, he went to Phoenix, he changed his diet, he changed his exercise regimens, he started doing all kinds of stuff to try to take care of his body, and I think that was in a direct response to the fact that the reason that the Mavericks said that they didn't want to sign him was they didn't think that his body would hold up over a 7 or 8 year deal. I'm a big Nash fan. I was riding the fence about him, but I said yes. I'm a Hardaway fan. I would ride the fence about him, but I'd probably say yes to him as well.
You know what? I'm going to say yes then. I think you have given me a convincing argument, Gary. How about Tom Chambers, former Phoenix Sun?
The white Terry Cummings out.
It's a very good comparison, actually. actually. He was really good. He was a great
Didn't he have a
scorer,
big thing on his
sixth
face?
man of the year, but
kinda.
yeah, he is very similar.
Moly.
Mole, 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 mole.
Now, this one I think is pretty solid. How about Tracy McGrady?
T-Mac wanted to be great. He wanted to dominate, and he wanted to be the king on the court.
His dunks were extremely explosive. Kind of lulled you to sleep. Before you knew it, he was jumping over top of you.
Every time I played against him, it was like trying to solve a puzzle. Try to invent schemes almost, because regular ones wouldn't work.
He is a Hall of Famer.
I always think of him and Penny Hardaway in similar vein.
I
as
think
far
McGrady had a longer prime than...
the 13 points in 30
that's so
seconds.
Here comes McGrady for the win. Yes! Oh, give me 5. I don't believe it. I do not believe this. 13 points in 33 seconds.
For all those fans that left, gosh, y'all missed a great game.
That to me is one of the more incredible feats in NBA history.
What's
For
funny
one player.
is him and Vince Carter alphabetically are right next to each other on this list. They're both cousins. They were both on the same team in Toronto, but McGrady was too young at that point to able to combine to actually do anything in the playoffs. But once he went to Orlando, man, he really blossomed. Then obviously he went to Houston. He teamed up with Yao Ming. I'm a yes.
I'm a yes.
The Dirk and McGrady duel in the playoffs, one of the greatest games I've ever watched in my life. He was so much fun to watch. He was such a good basketball player. I had to say yes to him.
He's a yes for me.
All right, so right underneath them, like we talked about, Vince Carter.
Half man, half amazing.
Carter is invincible.
Man, Vinsanity.
Carter extends to put it down. Over top of Alonzo Mourning.
Vince put Toronto and Canadian basketball on the map.
Well, he really impacted the nation and the city there.
A tremendously long NBA career. Didn't he have the record for the most
Vince,
games played?
Yes.
In his heyday, man, he was amazing.
He was still doing Vinsanity stuff in the last 2 years.
Air Canada.
Yeah.
A little less often, but he still could do it.
The longevity alone, I think.
Now, he just retired, so he's not eligible yet for the Hall of Fame. But
Oh, he's going in.
He's going to be a first ballot.
Yeah, he's in.
One of the greatest Maverick plays was the three-point shot.
Yeah.
1.7 to play. What kind of look is it going to be? It comes in the corner for the win. Yes! Yes! Do you believe it? Vince Carter gets it done for the Mavericks.
That was the day after, or the day of the Donald Sterling big blow it off when he got
juice for you, huh?
Yeah, when he got kicked out of the league.
I'm sorry, honey. Can I get you a little bit more juice?
But that all happened right at that time.
All right, so I think Vince Carter is definitely a yes. How about Walt Bellamy?
One of the Bellamy brothers?
One of the Bellamy
Let Your
brothers.
Love Flow?
Just let your love flow like a mountain stream and let your love grow with the smallest of dreams and let your love show. And you'll know what I mean. It's the season.
I never really saw Walt Bellamy play, so I have no opinion one way or another. But he was on a lot of these lists. Are we a no on him?
Walt Goggins is better.
All right, the last person on the list, Yao Ming, former Rocket, another guy
Yao Ming, Yao Ming,
killed
Yao
by
Ming.
injuries. Lots of foot problems, but during his prime, really, really good. I would say even dominant at certain points of his career.
I don't know if he was ever
Before the
dominant.
injuries, I would say he was.
He was very good.
And another Hall of Famer, too.
Such a short career.
I think he gets a lot of extra credit for being Chinese. Like if he was just a random.
Whoa.
No, I'm just saying though. I think he made the game even more international than it already was.
I think there's something to that, but I think there's more to him being 7'6". We talked about Manute Ball earlier. We didn't talk about Sean Bradley. We didn't talk about a few other guys.
George Murasong.
But there haven't been any 7'6" guys that were really the leader of their team. Yao Ming was kind of the leader of that team. Like they added other guys around him, but those guys were brought there to play with him. I think that's the novelty. But this career is so short. 2002-03 season to the 2008-09 season. 3 seasons where he averaged over 20 a game. I'm out.
Would you ever say in any of the seasons he played, he was a top 5 player in the league.
I think there was a couple of seasons where I would say,
Boy, I don't know.
he was close.
Maybe in 06-07 he averaged 25 and 10. He had to have been close at that point, but I still would say no.
I always thought he was more of a novelty than
Okay,
legit.
so Gary and Bob, you're a no. Rob?
I'm a no on him. I felt at first that he was not kind of living up to his number 1 pick status. He has some games that he surprised me in, but I'm going to say no.
All right, so that concludes our list. Adding up all of the yeses, we have counted 18 players
Rob.
out of the 50, which means first-timer Rob actually won.
Who knows more about basketball, yeah.
So, great topic, guys. I think we covered a lot of ground here. Was there any that you think I forgot?
Maybe Amari Stoudemire?
I thought about him.
Yeah, Stoudemire.
You know what? I would have said no to him, but I would say that he's probably in the class of being every bit as good and maybe better than some of the guys we talked about.
And another guy that's similar to him, I thought about Jermaine O'Neal. Really
Boy,
good
that's
player.
a guy that if he had just gone to college first,
Then he would have ended up with a much better NBA career. I agree with that.
I think he would have had a better career.
I'm going to throw a couple more names in this hat here. Vlade Divac.
Wait, he didn't win any with the Lakers?
No, he made it to the finals, but they lost to the Bulls.
They lost to the Bulls.
You know what? That's a pretty good one, man. That's one that we should have debated.
Yeah. Vlade will not be happy with us leaving him off the list.
Sacramento will probably go home, and Vlade will be happy with that.
Did Mark Jackson ever win one?
No, he did not. He was also another one I thought about.
Another one.
His best chances were probably with Indiana. All right, guys. Bob, if they want to reach you, how can they?
At Lukewarm Tallboy on Twitter.
Rob, if anybody wants to reach you and tell you how stupid your opinions are, how can they?
They can reach me at Twitter at SportsWookie41.
Gary?
Travel_cowboy.
Rob, was Wookie of the Year already taken?
He is the Wookie of the Year.
Yeah,
he is.
Wookie of the Year on this
That's an
one.
automatic. And if you want to reach the podcast, it's at How Many Podcasts. You can email us, howmanypodcasts@gmail.com. You can leave us a message on the YouTube channel, Facebook page, lots of different ways to reach us. All right, guys, great job, and we will talk to you soon.
Basketball Jones, I got a basketball Jones, got a basketball Jones, oh baby, ooh. Yes, I'm the victim of a basketball Jones, ever since I was a little baby.